Hi, because eventually this will end up there as well. Hi, guys. So I am trying the new platform going live on Facebook. So I go live both at the same time, and it has changed the way that they do lives. So if you see me kind of looking, it's because it's a completely different platform. First of all, I want to say hi. If you've never seen my face, you don't know who I am. My name is Shakti. Welcome to this live stream. And I do have a YouTube channel called Shakti TV, and the whole premise of the work that I do is all about teaching you guys that a healthy temple equals a vibrant spirit. And when you feel good in the body and you are not distracted by physical ache and physical discomfort, you can do so much with your spiritual practice and your spiritual development. Hi, Jenny on Instagram. Please say hello as you hop on so I can say hi to you. It's one of my favorite parts of doing live videos. So I'm doing different series of lives, and today you can't see the title on Instagram. I'm talking about being a chronic quitter, a recovering chronic quitter, being someone who has a history of quitting on everything and showing myself how to complete things. And then talking a little bit about something that's a new thing in my world, which is the understanding that I am with undiagnosed neurodivergence. And that has just come to the forefront of my life recently. I am 32 and I'm just figuring that out because it was never something that they talked about when I was little, and because most like autism studies or neurodivergent studies are on boys. Girls are very different than boys, the way they present, and no one really knew. And it was a lot like when I discovered that I was dealing with ADHD, and it's like, well, the only real understanding we have of ADHD is in boys and not in girls, and it looks real different. And I didn't know that until one of my friends shared an article about discovering that she had that problem as an adult and realizing why life felt so overwhelming to her, and she didn't understand that before. So that article about ADHD was really like my first open door to this understanding that, okay, there's something about me that has gone missed for like an extended period of time, and now it's becoming clear to me. And then it went a step further when my sensory issues started to get really intense. So I'm going to talk about that in regarding to being a chronic quitter. That's like a whole other journey. That's a whole other live video to talk about like what I'm learning about that. And if you're interested in hearing my story, I'm happy to share it. But I want to talk about the fact that my whole life, I was considered a really bright child, and I always did well in school, excelled, honor roll, top of the thing, the whole thing. But I had a very fixed mindset. And if you don't know the language of fixed mindset versus growth mindset, it's very simple. Having a fixed mindset is a kind of mindset that you're good at some things and you're not good at other things, and that's just the way the world is. Having a growth mindset is when you understand that even if you're not initially good at something, you can learn to be good at something. Oh, Jenny, I just saw your comment about the article. I found this like over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I did not save it. So I don't have a direct article for you, but you can probably just look up, undiagnosed ADHD in adult women, and it'll come up, or like symptoms of that, and it'll come up because it was a pretty popular article from what I remember. So I grew up with a pretty fixed mindset. I had this idea of who I was and what I was good at, i.e., I was good at reading. I was good at acting, really good with performance. I was a good vocalist. I can sing. I'm a good vocalist. I am pretty good at soccer. I was a pretty good athlete, even though I wasn't allowed to play sports. When I did play, I was pretty good at it. And then I was not good at math. I was not good at science. I was not good at guitar. Instruments were very, very hard for me. And I just decided that I was just not good at those things. And I just made these decisions like, oh, that's not for me. I'm not good at these things. And what later in life, how that played out for me was that when I would start a endeavor, or I would start a project that was for me, like a business. Y'all know my story somewhat with business. I've been opening businesses since I was 21. I would quit very quickly. I would hit a wall and I would quit because these documents didn't go through, or that project didn't pan out, or whatever the thing was. And it would create a lot of frustration, and I would be like, I'm just not meant for this. And the same thing played out with fitness. Like, I love to move my body. So a lot of people who don't follow astrology won't understand this, but my sun sign is Sagittarius. It's a fire sign. Athletics is actually very important to us. Moving our bodies, sports is like a big thing for me to channel energy. And because I was born with a heart condition, I was very limited in how much I could do. The doctors would let me play sports, etc. But I still had this desire to really like move my body. So I was always really drawn to fitness. And at the same time, in the background of my fitness, like appreciation, was my body image dysmorphia, my really unhealthy relationship to food and body and all of those things. And so what would happen with me is like I would start to go to the gym and I would be really strong for XYZ amount of time and I would quit. Or I would start to eat clean or like clean up my diet and then I would hit a wall and I would quit. Or I'd start a program, like someone was like, oh, I'll help you do this, or I'll put this together for you. And then I would start going and I would quit. And so I saw myself do that so much that what starts to happen in your brain when you do things like that and you quit a lot is you start to break trust with yourself. And it happens very subtly and over time. It's not something that you understand consciously. But what starts to happen when you go out to try things and then you don't follow through on what you decided to do is that you start to break trust with yourself, and suddenly you start trusting yourself a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less. So you'll go out to do something and immediately you won't trust that you'll be able to complete it. So you'll just quit ahead of time. Because here's what happens is it gets to the point where you rather quit ahead of time and say to yourself that it was your choice to quit than fail and have to deal with that feeling. Can anybody relate to this? In this new format of live video on Facebook, I cannot see any comments. I cannot see if anybody's on. I can't even see any like emoji reaction. So if you're on, please type in the comment box so I can see that you're on, because this format is so confusing. Can anybody relate to what I'm saying though about this? That you get to the point where, have you caught yourself doing that? You rather say like, oh, well, I quit. It was my choice to quit. When the reality was you were so insecure about your ability to follow through that you just decided that instead of potentially failing, you were just going to quit ahead of time. That was me. That was my whole life. And even though I was so bright and had so much potential, I would never stick with anything. I would just quit while I was ahead because it was easier for me to just like, well, I didn't like it anyways, or I wasn't good at it anyways. Okay. Hi, Kobe. I know the comments are working. Thank you. This new format is real weird. So you and your daughter both, Jenny. Okay. So I see this a lot in intelligent women, which is very ironic. Right? Like you have these super intelligent women, very bright women that are so capable and so powerful. And I especially see this in my team, right? So in my team of women that are going for big business goals or have big aspirations, and all of a sudden they just quit. And when I talk to them, they don't really have a reason. They're just like, oh, it wasn't for me. Or, it's almost like a lackluster reason for what actually happened. And I know what actually happened because that was my story. I quit on everything because I was terrified of failing. I would rather say that it was me, that I chose to quit. So Kobe, you have a different mindset. Okay, I have that mindset now, Kobe, of failure is not an option. I didn't for a long time. For years, I didn't have that perspective. I was just like, oh, I'm just going to drop it because it's hard, because it's taking me too long to learn, because I can't get my mind around it quickly and easily. I had a belief that if I didn't get something right away, that meant that it wasn't for me or that I was never going to be good at it. That's not true. I want you to hear me say that. That's not true. If you're not immediately good at something or you're not immediately consistent with something, a couple of things could be going on. You're not energetically or emotionally ready to take on that thing right now. You might need more mentorship. You might need some coaching. You might need someone in your corner to have your back because you're scared or your heart's not there. Like, that's really it. Like, that's all the things, okay? But let me explain to you what happened to me when I completed my first fitness program, because that was really the first thing I did as an adult that I followed through on. So I had my son. 4 months later, I started working out at home. And I chose a program called PIO, which is a combination of yoga and Pilates. And I chose that program because I was a yoga instructor and I was familiar with yoga and feels good in the body. I like Chalene Johnson's energy. She's great energy. She's really vibrant. It's a 60-day program. That seemed so long to me. I was like, I can't, now we have a 30-day program. We have all these different lengths of programs. But at the time, 60 days was like, it was the only thing I thought I could do because it was Pilates and yoga. But it was so long, I was intimidated by the length of time. But I said to myself, even if I don't do this perfectly, I have to modify everything. And I literally can only do like a fraction of the moves. I'm just going to finish these 60 days. And when I finish those 60 days, I will know that I can do something that I never thought I could do before. I had never been that consistent with fitness. To work out like 6 days a week for 60 days, are you crazy? I'd never done that before my whole life. I think her program might be, 6 days a week. So I put up the calendar. Now you can print it out. Now it's all digital. You can print your own calendar. But at the time, it was a DVD. And I put the calendar in front of my TV where I was going to work out. And every day I would do my workout and I would check that off. And at the same time, I was plugged into a community of other women who were also working out and who were also fit, because no one in my community, again, I was a new mom. I knew no one else with kids. No one else I knew was working out. I was stuck in my house alone. Didn't even want to go outside because my anxiety was so bad. So I started kind of talking to them and relating to them and feeling like, oh, these other people who are doing this, and I can lean into that and get support from there. And then I would show up, I'd do my workout every morning, I'd check it off. And sometimes it'd be interrupted, I'd be breastfeeding, I'd have to stop, I'd put the baby here and put the baby there, entertain the baby, use the baby as a weight, whatever I had to do just to get the workout done. But I showed up every day with the mindset, like, I don't want to do this right now. And there's so many distractions and this is taking so long because of the baby, because of my brain, but I'm going to do this. I need to show myself that I can complete something that I say I'm going to complete, even if it's just a workout program for 60 days. And I did. And at the end of the 60 days was such an emotional day for me because, of course, I looked totally different. My body looked strong again and toned, and I was so much more flexible, and my back didn't hurt anymore, and I could pick up my kid without pulling a muscle, right? Of course, all those things happened, but what else happened was that I suddenly had a new sense of confidence in myself because I saw myself do something that earlier I would have never done. I would have never had the grit to do that before. And so what happened when I saw myself complete that program is I said, really unknowingly, if I could do that, what else can I do? And for all of you guys who are moms, you'll know what I mean, because as soon as you give birth to a baby, you're like, if I can do that, what else can I do, right? That moment happens in your brain, but it also happened to me with fitness. Like, oh, if I could do that, what else could I do? And then I went to a more difficult program, and I upped my weights. And I started challenging myself more. And since then, I've completed dozens of programs, which still blows my mind. Then I started tackling my nutrition because eating was a problem. And I used to be a chronic yo-yo dieter. And I used to have all these unhealthy rituals and restrictions. And then I started tackling that and finding, okay, I constantly quit on myself here, but I'm not going to quit myself this time. I'm going to take it one day at a time. 4 years later, I'm not emotionally eating. I'm not binge eating. I no longer have those habits. That's gone. That's part of my past. And it's radically changed my life, not just in how I live, obviously, but in how I see myself and the amount of trust I now have in myself. When I say I'm going to do something now, I do it. And I trust myself to do it. The other thing that's done is it's given me more risk. It's allowed me to be riskier because I've seen myself do things and do it, right? So when you don't trust yourself, you don't risk. When you don't trust yourself, you won't risk because you're like, I know I don't do what I say I'm going to do. So you won't ever risk. You won't put skin in the game because you just already know you're probably not going to do the thing, right? But when you do trust yourself, you do tend to be a little bit riskier because you're like, well, I've seen myself do this and I've seen myself do this, so I'll probably do this. You build a different kind of dialogue in your mind. And that's really important for you guys to note, right? That you build trust with yourself through the little things that you see yourself get done. Kobe says, I also think my failure is not an option as part to childhood trauma and that I have to succeed at everything I do. I think instead of being a bad thing, it's what drives me to not give up. Yeah, so it could go both ways, though. That mentality of like failure is not an option, you could use that to harm yourself, Kobe, very easily. And I know a lot of people that do. And I have harmed myself, and that turns into perfectionism. So it can become a dangerous thing. It falls into that perfectionist camp. And in my case now, my dialogue doesn't sound like failure is not an option. What my dialogue now sounds like is I trust myself enough to follow through on the things that matter to me. So when something really matters to me and when I really want to dedicate myself to it, I trust that I will follow through on my word. And that is not self-punishment. That is self-confidence. That's what self-trust looks like. Hi, Leah. Hey, Lauren. Hi, Addie. Just saw that you joined. So that's been my journey, trusting me and going from being a chronic quitter to being someone who sees herself get shit done, frankly. And it started with exercise. And that's why I'm sharing this story, because obviously I promote fitness and I have an upcoming boxing boot camp going. And a lot of people are reaching out to me for the boxing boot camp. Boxing seems to be a really fun and exciting thing for a lot of you guys, which is great. But if you're watching my videos and maybe you're thinking about joining my group and you're nervous because you're like, oh, I always say I'm going to do a program and then I never do it. Or I always, I try things and I never complete it. Understand that today is a day of rebirth. Like, regardless of your spiritual, religious beliefs, today is a day of rebirth. And I want this to be your reminder that where you've been is not where you have to be. Where you've been is not who you are. It's just a set of patterns and behaviors that you've done. Right? Everybody has a chance to begin again. Everybody has a chance for a rebirth. So this is your invitation to view your own experiences and ask yourself, if something is calling you to start a new program like that and to join a community and to start taking care of yourself, and what's holding you back is your fear that you're not going to follow through on your word, give yourself an opportunity to begin again. Give yourself a chance to see yourself in a new light, to learn a new behavior for your mind, to go from being fixed in who you are and what you do or don't do, to being the kind of person that can have a growth mindset, that can grow through things. That's so important. And it will serve you in so many ways. So one of the things I see often in our fitness groups is someone will go from being very inconsistent. And Abby is actually one of my favorite examples. So Abby is now a coach on our team. She's one of my business partners. She was my client for the first time over 3 years ago. She got a challenge pack. She joined a fitness group, did nothing, sat on it, right? And then again, she got another pack a year later, and she sat on that one again, joined the group, and I checked in with her. She was gone. Life happened. And then the third time, she reached out to me and she said, okay, I'm done. I'm ready. And Abby has completely transformed. And this last time, not only did she decide to become a coach and then start helping people the same way that she got help, but she looks like a completely different person, aside from the fact that she's currently half her size and unrecognizable to those of us who are in the fitness group who have been working for her. She has so much energy. She's constantly working out and running with her kid and playing and doing things that she never could do. She has a 4-year-old kid, and it was impossible to keep up with him. She had no energy. Her whole quality of life has transformed. She's so, this whole personality of how funny she is and how quirky she is has blossomed as a result of having confidence, because she saw herself do something that she kept quitting at. And it gave her back her health, her life, and it really blossomed her personality. Right? So that's just one example of the many that I have seen in the 4 years that I've been doing this work of how you can change. So if you haven't been able to do something for yourself, like complete a program before, don't give up on yourself. Really give yourself a chance to see yourself do this. I promise you that when you build that self-trust with yourself, you will blow your own mind. And so many doors will open up for you because your confidence will be so different. Okay, so that's my testimony. Thanks for hanging with me. Happy Sunday. Happy Easter for those of you that are celebrating. And if you do want to join our upcoming group for the boxing boot camp, please drop me a line. I'll actually put a health assessment form over the title of this live on Facebook. And if you're on Instagram, you can just go to my bio links and fill out the health assessment form. I'll get that. And I'm usually in contact within 24 to 48 hours. And we can talk more specs for you and what you're needing and how you can join us. All right. Have an amazing Sunday, my friends. Until we meet again.